Welcome to Smoke and Mirrors, where we unmask the makers of our local content. Today we have a special guest. She's worked on a number of things. This is just some of them. Blood and Water, the season 4, the finale. Afro-punk concert with Sampa, the Great. Kotex commercial with Boiti. Ranza Naras, it was a Channel O. Kick It, which was a documentary, which he's won a SAFTA for. Bilia Kosha, which is a music series documentary. Forbes 30 Under 30. Mail and Guardian, 200 young, exceptional people in the country. Facebook, 13 inspirational women in Africa. And Nedbank Change Makers. She's a director, Keitumetse Qhadi. Welcome.
Hey.
Nice to have you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for finding the time. So I'd like to take it back. Like, when did you realize that this is what you wanted to do? Like, maybe it was as a child you saw something or you experienced something. Paint us a picture. Like, what was it that told you, like, this is what I want to do?
I'm probably like not too interesting in terms of how it started. I think a lot of filmmakers start with kind of like a storytelling background within their family. So growing up, we are from Eslalini, which is the rural areas, and we also live in town. So going home every holiday, sitting around with my cousins in my grand's house, swapping stories about Uchakalashe, and
It's cool.
that's kind of like
Yeah.
the storytelling background. And then when we got to grade 10, we started doing film study.
Okay.
And then it continued. It was along with English. And then we continued, got to grade 11, and I was like, okay, like I'm feeling something here. This is really, really what I want to do. And then a friend of mine, they were shooting this big Hollywood production on their farm in the Eastern Cape.
Wow.
Amelia Earhart. And she managed to get us onto set. And I was Richard Gere's towel girl.
Really?
That was my job.
Oh, Richard Gere.
Richard Gere,
That is crazy.
Pretty Woman, iconic film that changed my life as a kid.
Sheesh.
So
How old are you that time?
I was in grade 11 or in matric.
Sheesh.
So I was like 17 or 18.
That's crazy.
And Hilary Swank was there. So these were like
Oh, Hilary Swank.
whole Hilary Swank shooting in the Eastern Cape.
Wow.
Where I've grown up. So
Yeah.
it completely blew my mind. And then the director was a woman of color. And I still haven't been on a set that big. So that was my first experience. And
Jeez.
I remember telling my friend about this is what I wanted to do. I literally had a dream. And in the dream, I was a director.
Wow.
And then she's still my bestie. She's traveling the world somewhere right now.
Sheesh.
And I told her this thing, and literally a month or 3 months later, there happened to be this thing that was happening on their family farm. So it's a very unique way to be exposed to film, and I'm very grateful for it.
Wow. So it's more like a vision, I would say.
Yeah.
That
And now
is
that's my standard.
crazy. Like, right? So when it came to schooling, and like you told your folks, your parents, that you want to study film and like media, what was that like for you? Like, were they receptive? Were they like, oh?
My mom is my number one supporter. So, and my dad is, he loves me very much, but he's very traditional and skeptical of anything to do with the arts. So he was very against it. But I had a lot of support from my mom and my sister as well. So because of their support, I was like, I want to go to AFTA. I want to go to film school and I can get a degree for it. It's not just like me playing around. And I went, and my dad used to make this joke because it's AFTA. So I used to say to people, oh, like, which school does your daughter go to? And he'd be like, after she does this thing, she's going to be studying something else. So
That is deep.
yeah, it took a long time for him to warm up, and he probably only warmed up when I got my first gig. But yeah, I straight out of high school in the Eastern Cape came to Johannesburg and studied film at AFTA.
Awesome. So like, I'm going to do a bit of a role play with you. Okay, I'm going to be the first AD.
Oh God.
You're going to be the director as you are.
Okay.
The scene is a father, single father, we're in a house, interior. He just found out his son wants to take a gap year next year. The father is a petrol attendant. He's been taking out loans. He's been saving money for his child to go to school. His child wants to take a gap year. He's upset. He's distraught. So we have him with the son having an argument and having, like, sitting him down, telling him, you are going to go to Islandin tomorrow. You're not going to do this gap year thing. You're going to go and work on the farm and take care of the cattle.
This feels like is this based on...
No, no, it's not. So there's no, like, dialogue. We're not going to go into the dialogue and the nitty-gritties of things. What we're going to do is get to the setting up of that, okay? So call time is 6, cast to be on set by 7:30, cast are arriving, and let's do it. Hi, Kitty, the cast have just landed. I'm going to get them straight to the green room. You'll do radio miking and get them ready for the scene.
Okay.
Cool. Just get them ready, radio miking, makeup, costume, doing their thing. And the cast, hi, Kitty, the cast are ready.
Okay.
Should I invite them in?
Just give me a moment. I want to talk to them before they get to the floor.
Okay, copy.
So then I'll go to their green room or wherever they set up. I'll chat to them about what the scene is, what I'm hoping to get out of their scene, the scene. Then I'll ask them, what have they prepared? And depending on the kind of personality I'm dealing with the talent, sometimes I'll ask them first.
Okay.
What have you prepared for the scene? Then I'll tell them what the intentions I need to get out of the scene are. And sometimes, depending on how disjointed our schedule is, I'll track back to where we were coming from, what emotional state we were in, and what is the scene that follows straight after that. Because a lot of the time, we're shooting very, very emotional scenes, and then we shoot the second half of that scene in a completely different location 2 weeks later.
We don't shoot chronologically. Like,
no, we do not.
Everything is haphazard. Yeah.
No, so my job is very much to kind of like be the chronological barometer and be like, this is where we're coming from, this is where we are, this is where we're going, this is the space that we're in, and what do you want and what do I want from the scene? Then we go onto the floor together. Cool.
Walking to the floor. All right, guys, let's do a rehearsal. Kitty, you watching the answer?
I'm watching them.
Alrighty. And let's turn over on rehearsal. Ready to say rolling and scene. Okay, cool. So that's nice. You actually explained that pretty well. I pictured it all.
I would also just, before we get straight into a rehearsal, talk. Technically, we have to prepare the floor for them. So first thing is, I pretend to be the talent with the technical crew before they arrive.
Okay.
And where's the best place to stand for lighting? How much breathing space do they have to move props around? So by the time the talent comes on the floor, it's part 2 of our conversation.
So that's the blocking.
Yeah. So I'm like taking them through the blocking. Then we do the technical.
The rehearsal.
Then we shoot and then the scene.
Awesome. Love that.
Thank you.
Now, time to get into the in-depth questions.
Okay.
What are your main sources of creative inspiration?
Existing work. Movies, books, real life. Sometimes isolating from real life is a huge source of inspiration. Kind of like consume as much as I can, then let it all kind of fall away. And then let my brain kind of do its own thing. And social spaces also, a big source of inspiration for me. Go out with my friends and mostly my sisters and just sit at places and kind of like watch things unfold. So
I do that a lot, like people watching.
People watching is a real thing. Yeah. And it's a little creepy. Because I'm watching you for like research.
Do you also like make up stories or like as you people watch, like, oh, this guy just got divorced and he's angry?
I've got sharp ears, so I'll like I'll hear something and then like my brain will fill in everything else, and I'll hear the rest of it and I'll be like, no. What I have going on in my brain is way more interesting than this. But existing work. There's a phrase that I heard very early on. I think a lot of us are familiar with it, that there's nothing new. Everything already exists in kind of like the shared consciousness of everyone. So tapping into that is like really important. But I find that isolation is as important, because if you do too much of tapping into kind of like the shared consciousness, you repeat, and you kind of like end up being boxed in, and you yourself are like, this is the only way that this can happen, when there's 1,000 different ways for the same thing to kind of unfold. So yeah, those three things are really important.
I love that. Next question. How has your creative process evolved over time?
Oh, over time, it's become less spontaneous and kind of like fluid, and more like documented and structured and a little bit more technical. I'm very surprised the older I get to find that filmmaking, as much as everybody believes it's very much an artistic experience, it's also like very mathematical and like very technical. So I have to count, how much time do I have on the floor? How much time do I have in the day? How much time would the setup take that I want? So my preparation used to be like, I really want this amazing thing, this beautiful one a sequence, or like this beautiful lighting. And I didn't always consider like all of the other elements involved in the creative process that would allow me to achieve that. So it's become more collaborative over time. I used to also very much think that my role as a director is to come with all of the answers, and created a lot of like internal pressure. And that's not my job. My job is to be the creative funnel, like the channel that all the creativity flows through. And if the funnel, if this tunnel that I am is clear about the direction that we're going in, and it's communicated really well with everybody else, then amazing things happen. But if I'm stifling everyone's process by saying this is the only way it can go,
Then it's like narrow.
it's very narrow, and it's sometimes can be destructive for the creative community that you're working with.
That's good. How do you balance artistic vision with commercial viability?
You know, when we were at film school, they told us
Yeah.
you're going to have to work a lot
Yeah.
before you make the thing that you want to make. And that is true, or you can do both at the same time. When you're working in commercial spaces, it is very much your job to serve the client vision or the studio vision. But there are 1,000 different directors, and they've come to you for a very specific reason, because you have a voice, you have a style, you have a certain kind of taste that they want. So really being clear on an internal level what my taste is, which evolves a lot, but knowing what my taste is, and then coming to the party with that really fundamental idea about who I am as an artist, then serving what the creative vision of the client or the studio is. That's how I navigate like my kind of like commercial career.
Yeah.
And then on the side of that, I'm always trying to pursue something that is very, very personal, and that would allow me to feel like I am the artist that I believe I am, which is sometimes the more challenging. I found it's the more challenging thing to do, because I've spent so much of my career trying to have a career. You know, and that means coming to the party and serving and serving. And if you're always serving, you don't really know how to answer to yourself, because you're so used to getting that external approval. Yeah, that's exactly how we wanted. Kid, oh, kid, this is great, round of applause. Oh, no, kid, that's terrible. Now, when I'm sitting alone, I don't have somebody telling me that's terrible, that's great. I have like my internal dialogue, then I have my internal community. And the internal dialogue is usually just like the one voice. The community is all of the other voices that are disputing. No, actually, that's not a good idea. No, actually, you suck. So
I think your work will speak for itself. I'm sure like when that happens, you'd be like, no, but actually I am her.
Yeah, I am her. And it's like, it's a lot of just like mental health stuff and loving yourself and surrounding yourself with good people. And yeah.
No, I love that. How do you interpret the script and develop its execution with the other creatives and cast?
That is definitely a process. I'll read the script alone a couple of times before I make any notes. After maybe
So this is before like pre-prod.
This is before pre-prod.
Pre-prod is pre-production. That's before we start shooting. Yeah.
So let's say I get a call to work on a project and I'm like, cool, let's go work on the project. I'm sent the script. After contracting, I'll read the script. No notes. Just read the script as kind of like an audience, as a reader. Then I'll read the script again with my notes. And I'll be like, okay, this is a reference I have in mind. Then I read the script again for technical reasons. How does this play out in edit? What is the camera language in the scene? What is the tone of the scene? What kind of outfit is the character wearing? Just my own personal things. Does this certain line in the script resonate with what my understanding is of this character so far? So by the time I'm sitting and collaborating with other people, I've got a pretty good opinion on what it is. And my assumption is they do too. And then we sit from then on and then we kind of like swap ideas. But it is, again, a technical experience to go through the script. You mustn't just go through it like, oh, this is so cool. It's like, can I achieve this? How would I achieve this? And does it serve the overall vision of the season, the scene, the act?
I'm sure it feels like at some point a Bible where you're just reading it over and over again every day.
Yeah.
While you shoot, just to like recalibrate and just keep the...
It's true.
Continuance of it all.
And
together.
ADs are amazing.
Yeah.
Because at day 40, I'm like, what are we shooting?
Yeah.
Why are we here? And everybody else is like, kid, like we spoke about this for months. And I'm like, oh, yeah.
That's funny. Oh, man. What strategy, struggle that word. What strategies do you employ for building an efficient work team?
Ooh, there is something that I've seen over the years in my career. So before, we used to just kind of like get hired based on like your previous work. And then like I started kind of like branching out into different avenues. And then there's like an interview that would happen, which was like a chemistry interview. And I'd like go there like really prepared to answer questions when in fact the people just wanted to see if we can get along, if we can work with each other. And it's like such an important thing. You can work with the most talented creators in your team, but if you guys don't have chemistry in terms of like the level of respect that you have for each other, can you listen to each other? Can you take criticism? That's probably like the most important thing for me. But I will obviously look at creators that I respect. Also like working with people that I can learn from. I think we are always learning, specifically in film. So I look at who I think is the best or who I can learn from. Then from that list, we go through kind of like an interview or a conversation. And based on the kind of chemistry that we have, for me, is there empathy in this relationship? And then, and then you kind of like build like a rugby team, right? Does everybody play a part that kind of like really helps the whole unit move along? And if there's somebody in the team that's not playing a part, it will be destructive. As filmmakers, we don't give up.
Yeah, we continue.
We carry on shooting. You cry in your car, you come on set. So once you've kind of like locked in that team, it's very hard to get out of it. Yeah.
I hear that. What is your biggest challenge working on your latest film?
That very thing.
You don't have to mention it, but what was it?
No, that very
you don't
thing.
mention the film,
No names, nothing. But I had a challenge, a chemistry personality challenge with one of the people on the team. And it was difficult because I hadn't had that in so many years. And I thought I'd kind of like surpass that. And there I find myself on this really, really big project with a lot of responsibility and an individual not really respecting my vision, and me, instead of like really focusing on what I need to do, having to manage that dynamic as well. And it was very challenging, but I learned a lot from the person. And I am grateful for the challenge that was put before me, because I'd forgotten that anger is a good thing. You know, if you're angry, it means a boundary has been crossed.
Yeah,
you just need to figure out what that boundary is.
That's powerful, yeah.
Yeah. So I got angry a lot. I was like, where are all these boundaries I didn't know I had?
Yeah.
But I built them over the years, and boundaries are good. And I felt them getting pushed and tweaked and just like over and over again. And I had to learn how to communicate and still do my job and still find space to understand where that other person was coming from. So it was an experience, but it was a very, very good learning experience.
Yeah. Wow. That was actually quite profound, like knowing what your boundaries are. You know, like being angry and like learning why am I angry and really delving deep into that's actually quite
and
crazy.
You know, we as creatives want to collaborate. So sometimes we're very loose with our boundaries.
That's true. Have you ever turned down certain scripts or jobs because it just didn't resonate with you? If so, how did it not?
Yeah, I have. I think it's important to not lie to yourself and not lie to other people. A lot of the time, I take things that I've never done before because, like, I want to grow. But sometimes a script will come where I'm like, I don't know how to execute this. I've got, like, an idea, but is it interesting? I don't think I'm the best person for the job. And does that serve? It might serve me financially, but does it really serve, like, the project? So I just see where I fit in and if I can help execute something to its best or not.
That's quite important, like choosing a job because of your finances or because of it resonating with you. Like, sometimes you have to just go with the finances, but then you end up not. It's like poetic justice where it just doesn't come across well because it never resonated. So I think it's important to like actually delve deep before anything else, because I think once you do something that resonates with you, the money will follow, right?
It's true.
Isn't that the nature of life? And
I think it's
that's the battle we're all facing, I think, especially post-COVID.
It is. And I also think it's privilege talk to be able to say you can turn down a job because the film industry is not overflowing with money. So, but if you do a job and you don't do a good job, that'll affect your ability to get another job.
Yeah.
So it's a very fine line, and you need to be honest with yourself.
Wow. Best film directing advice you were ever given?
It sounds really silly, but it was, we did a workshop, it was maybe like 10 years ago. At this point, maybe 12 years ago. And it was like the first kind of big film I did. And we had multiple mentors. It was with the NFEF slate, first filmmaker slate. And one of our mentors was Akin Omotoso.
Shout out Akin.
Shout out
Akin.
So
cool, yeah.
And he said, you must greet everybody on set. And it has nothing to do with technical stuff, but it has everything to do
with morale.
Yeah. And if you're that director walking there, not greeting anybody, when it's time to go overtime, everyone's going to be like, sorry, ma'am, do you even know my name? So it's not even for kind of like, I do this, then you give me that. But it creates like a really strong team if you greet people and if you care for who they are. So it's, greet people and be respectful.
Yeah. I remember the last job I did with him, Tabani. You know Tabani?
Oh,
he was the first AD. Shout out Tabani Gigawa, you the boss.
He is. He really is.
But Akin would like adopt this thing at every day at 4:00. We stop shooting, everybody starts clapping.
No matter what?
No matter what. Like
That's
it's like 6 to 6 or 7 to 7 or whatever. But at 4:00, everybody stops and we just,
that is pretty cool.
For like a good minute or two. And they're like, okay, guys, everybody back to work. And
That's
I actually, first day I was like, what is this? Because I'm all about time, right? And then I was like, no, like day 5 or 6, I was like, no, actually, this is cool. Because when you get into overtime, you don't really mind anymore because everybody's in this together and, you know, might as well finish. And so that was, I found that quite cool. So yeah, shout out to
He's a wealth of wisdom.
He is. Yeah. Which part of filmmaking do you enjoy the most?
Being on set.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Being around people, different location.
Yeah. action. That moment when we say action and everything goes quiet.
Yeah.
Like all these emotions are happening inside me. I'm like first person experience watching.
Yeah.
It feels like such a dream. Like no matter how many times I do it, I love it.
Feels like magic, doesn't it? Like
it really does.
Yeah, I love it too. Have you ever not gotten along with a cast member? Well, I think you answered this for whatever reason. If so, how did you handle that situation? Oh no, that was with a team member.
Yeah, that was with a team member.
With a cast member, someone you have to direct.
Yeah, I mean, lots of times.
Yeah, how do you handle that?
Oh, it's mostly because I used to do music videos.
Okay.
So in music videos, you'd have like a lot of ego. And like, it's like you need to kind of like put your ego aside and do your job.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's all it is. And then later, kind of like looking a little bit younger than some of the directors that maybe the cast was familiar with. And my job is to read emotions. That is my job. So I'm very quick to pick up on somebody's eyes, like kind of like what their assumption is of me. And I take that and then I put it aside and like I'm there to serve them actually. And my emotions come second to really how they might feel about me. And I just put it aside. I show up and doing that, being like really professional, changed some of my relationships. There was one particular talent who, it actually hasn't happened that much, maybe 3 times. One particular talent who I could feel, at the time I felt just had negative emotions towards me. But once I showed up super professionally throughout the whole experience, I realized that they were just scared to trust this person that they don't really know anything about.
And young looking maybe. Perhaps.
Yeah. So put yourself aside, like find where the empathy is from where that person is coming from. If there's no empathy, if they're just like a terrible person, then be super professional and in one ear, out the other ear, what kind of negative stuff you hear from them to you and just serve, do your job. At the end of it, when the product is finished and it's done, those opinions very much often change.
Yeah, I love that. Now, ladies and gentlemen, as you've guessed it, it's time for the game segment. We get more chilled and, less formal.
Oh, okay.
Get to know a different side of you,
Oh, no.
So the first question, if you could star in any movie, what would it be and what character would you play?
Kind of same answer over time. Remember being a kid and watching Matilda?
Yeah. Oh, Matilda. Yeah.
I was like, I want to be Matilda. I want to make things move.
Yeah.
I want to,
Yeah.
Later, Morpheus from The Matrix.
The Matrix.
And now that I think about it, they're very similar in that, like,
Also.
changing the world around you. And Matilda, it's kind of a very, very different story. But she was challenged and then she found that she had this unique talent. And a big part of it was being able to kind of like change matter and spaces and control her narrative on her, kind of like this power that she had. With Morpheus, shout out Morpheus.
Yeah.
He kind of is the gateway and he encourages Neo to challenge his own ideas of what his reality is. And he ushers him into kind of like this new chapter. So I don't really want to be Neo because he goes through a lot.
He goes through too much.
Neo, whatever. Yeah. But Morpheus has a bit more power and he's curious and he can change his reality. And I love that.
I love that. And it's also like true for life. Like your mentality can change your environment. I find that like once I changed my mentality, like I went through something in 2020, but then once I changed the thinking, like I realized I'm a spiritual person in human flesh. And everything that I pray about, everything that I think about actually comes to fruition. Yeah. So your thoughts are quite powerful. So that was a good answer. Which movie soundtrack would you choose for the soundtrack of your life? It could be a TV series as well. Like that's a hard one.
I don't know about the soundtrack for my life, but there was a movie with Natalie Portman. It was Closer. And the album was Damien Rice, The Blower's Daughter.
Okay.
I
me
love the
check that out.
tone. It's like very peaceful.
Yeah.
I just love I just love the soundtrack.
Yeah.
But for my life,
It's a tough one. I don't understand if you can't
what's
do
that? Is it Rambo? Dude.
I remember.
How does that go?
Eye of the Tiger.
Eye of the Tiger. Yeah, boy. It's Eye of the Tiger every
I
day.
hear that.
We are going
Running up
in
them steps.
hard and we're winning. So yeah, that's the one.
Okay, I hear you. What is your favorite movie to watch over and over again, and why?
Ooh, I'm a romantic. Meet Joe Black. I've watched it.
Oh, yeah.
I've watched it a lot of times. And then I watched it as a kid. Then I recently watched it again. And there's like a lot of metaphor in that story. It talks about life. It talks about death. It talks about kind of like what is good, what is bad. This guy that's presented as, well, he is the devil. He comes and she falls in love with him. Has all
with Brad Pitt.
Yeah, with
I
Brad
saw that
Pitt.
recently, actually. It's like last week.
It's so dope.
It's actually, it's powerful. Yeah.
And being a kid, I was just like, I just love Brad Pitt.
Yeah.
And then being an adult, I'm like, oh my God, this is a real thing. Another one is Old Boy, the original. I watched it in second year or first year at film school. And up until then, I thought movies were only coming from Hollywood. I had a very kind of like linear idea of what like narrative and storytelling looked like. And that blew my mind, and it opened my world up to Asian cinema. And I love Korean films. I love Asian cinema as a whole. They have a way of honoring culture, of exploring technical cinema, and of doing really, really good storytelling. So any Korean thing I'd watch 1,000 times.
Yeah, I love that. What movie quote always makes you laugh or cry?
Why is my brain telling me silly things? 10 things I hate about you.
Yeah.
I hate the way you make me laugh. I hate the way you make me cry. But most of all, something.
Okay.
I always cry when...
I'll look that up. I'll find it. Yeah.
Yeah, like... Yeah, it's just really
I
sweet.
always ask like the gents that, and like they always go for like the laugh one. Like
Which
like
one?
the gents don't ever like tell me which one makes them cry. I think like guys do cry. Like
They
like,
definitely do.
I'll be honest, there are movies that make me cry. There is a movie that make me cry. But yeah,
Guys mustn't lie.
Gents, when you come on here, just tell me the ones that make you cry. Let's be vulnerable together. If you could see one movie again for the first time, what would it be and why?
Ooh, for the first time, this is a tricky one. I love cinema. I don't know. I loved Harry Potter. I wish I could watch it again for the first time. Raised by Wolves. It's an HBO series.
Raised by Wolves.
They shot part of it in Cape Town.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah, it's like I love post-apocalyptic, fantastical new world, and it talks about stuff that feels very inspired by African culture. And watching it, I was just like, what the hell is this? And then I tried watching it again, and I was bored. So, yeah, so actually that one, because I wish I didn't have it in my mind, and I could experience it again. Yeah.
If you could be any movie, what movie would you put on a desert island and why? So something that you have to just keep watching over and over again. Nothing else. What
on a desert island.
What movie would that be?
Oh, Oageng. Dude, I don't know.
I know some of these are hard. Like it's fine if you want to pass, you can pass.
Let me pause.
Cool. Because I'm sure like when you're at home, like, oh, I know it now. When you're driving.
I will be like, I should have said this, but
no, you can pass if
let's
if
pass.
It doesn't come. Yeah. If you could change one thing about a movie, what would it be and why?
These are like very difficult. The things that come to my mind also, they feel a little bit silly, but Benjamin Button, I wish you could have stopped aging
Yes.
at some point so they could be together.
Yeah, that's a good one. I wish I watched that over again, actually.
Yeah.
Like,
really cool
for
movie.
the first time.
You know, I might be wrong, but I remember reading or hearing that when Brad Pitt was first approached for the project, he'd said he'd only do the project if he could play Benjamin Button in all the years of his life.
Oh, wow.
And he kind of like just like said it. And then years later, the director, the producer came back to him and they're like, we've developed the technology. And he was like,
wow.
Oh.
That's interesting. I didn't know
yeah,
that.
So that film is like really cool for lots of reasons.
Yeah, it is. Wow. No, thank you so much, Kitty. I have a question about AI. What's your thinking or your thoughts around it, like positively or negatively? How do you think it's going to affect the film industry?
I think there's a lot of fear happening right now with the industry about AI. Maybe in the short form industry even more, because at the level that AI is right now, it is very disruptive within the commercial space. It replaces a lot of disciplines, and I don't like fear. I don't like being scared.
Yeah.
I don't believe that that's a way to kind of like live. And I think we should take up the challenge. And we should do it very early on. We're no longer early adapters. If you're jumping on to AI now, we're kind of like mid-level adapters, but soon we'll be kind of like last adapters. I was talking about this recently. You know, Google, for a long time, you would Google something and the research that would come up, you'd like Google a girl in Africa. And you would find a very kind of like Eurocentric idea gaze and kind of like Nat Geo gaze on what that looked like. And there was a time when that kind of like data that people were able to access changed. And it happened because of people like I See a Different You, because of creators all over the continent who created a new image of what Black looks like. So it changed what you would Google for Black people. Now for a lot of the stuff that I'm coming across in AI, there's still kind of like a very like Eurocentric idea on some of the references or some of the elements that you'll find. So there's opportunity from a creative level where there's all of this data to be mined for what Africa can represent in that AI space. So I'm very curious. Like, I'm curious about how that's going to shift from a creative level. And as a consumer of it, I'm curious to see how it's going to develop. But as a filmmaker, it is... Sorry.
That's cool.
As a filmmaker, let's not be scared. Let's experiment. Let's play. The last project I worked on, we were working with a studio, and they were very clear that they wanted us to build all of our storyboards with storyboard AI. And me and the other director originally were like, well, like we're about to shoot. Like for days, we don't have time to be learning this. And I was like, let me just take up the challenge. Let me see what it looks like. And I'd spend hours. Like I'd come home and I'd be working on a storyboard maybe for like a week ahead. And I'd sleep really, really late. But it served me so well because like now...
You learn a new skill now.
Yeah, I learned a new skill. Yeah. I could move faster through my day. I have a very different way of communicating with my team, what I want the vision to look like. So it is challenging, but we just need to take it on. And I also think art will always be very subjective. So there will always be a space for unique voices. And at the end of the day, AI needs somebody to input an instruction. So don't be afraid. Just embrace the change.
It sort of feels like the fourth industrial revolution.
It
so
does.
With that comes fear, comes whatever, but we have to adjust, I guess.
It really does. 3 years ago, we were doing... we did a Forbes summit, and we had all of kind of like the Forbes alumni come together, and we were discussing AI and the fourth industrial revolution we weren't discussing AI. AI has only kind of been a conversation recently for me. But we were discussing the fourth industrial revolution and what that means and what it looks like. And the kind of like what we all agreed on is that you have to be adaptable and you have to be multifaceted and you have to be open to learning. And AI is going to come, something else is going to come. People might get over AI on a visual level in terms of like what it looks like. But I don't think it's going anywhere, to be honest. And I don't want to be bogged down by the sense of fear that a machine is going to replace me. I don't think that's a good way to experience life.
Yeah. Thank you so much for being here today, Kit. Like, it's been awesome. Thank you for giving us a slice of your life, letting us into the director's world. What advice would you give the students out there studying within this industry, whether directing, producing, whatever she wants to do, but within this industry, what advice would you give to help propel her or him?
I would tell them to be very disciplined. I would tell them to write down very practically a 1-year plan, a 3-year plan, a 10-year vision, because a lot of things are going to come and disrupt whatever your vision is. But just knowing you have a vision is important. Having a vision is very important. Discipline is very important. I would tell them there's a lot of work that they need to prepare themselves for, but they're going to have a lot of fun and they're going to have a lot of good experiences. I would tell them to have a lot of self-love. That's probably been the most important thing for me in my career. Like, love from my family has been really important, but self-love and a really good idea of who I am has really, really been important and has served me a lot.
Yeah, thank you for that. I took it to heart too. So I'd like to end off with a movie quote. The winner, please comment, guys. The first guy to get this right or first woman to get this right gets a new pair of Ray-Bans. No, I'm joking, Kajlala. I'm joking.
I want the pair of Ray-Bans. Where are we at?
You'll just get bragging rights. That's all you get. So this is the quote. At my signal, unleash hell. If you get it right in the comment section, you get the bragging rights. Again, Kit, thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate it. Cut, print, check the gate.